What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve. Today we're going to be turning our attention to the water pump for the Triumph Spitfire. This water pump I don't know anything about. Bearings sound good in it, but the inside of it is pretty grody. So grab yourself a cup of jitter juice and stick around. It'll be a fun video. So I had a phone call today from Ted from TSI Automotive, and he has pretty much all my parts. The cam has been finished, and he's just waiting on one other piece, and he's going to ship back all my parts sometime next week. So while we're waiting on that, I still have a couple of things from accessories on the outside of the engine that I need to kind of get started while I wait for the last bit of parts before I start assembly. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of tear down this water pump, remove the pump itself, clean the inside housing because it's pretty grody in there, and then we're going to go ahead and give it a fresh coat of paint and just get it ready for putting back onto the engine when it's time come. So let's get started. So before I started filming all this, I actually went ahead and I started loosening up the bolts because I was kind of afraid that there might be a chance of breaking some bolts, and thankfully we didn't. I used a little bit of my little mystery juice here, the ATF and acetone, and I was able to get all the bolts loose, as well as get this guy loosened up. This valve, or this adapter, is pretty bad, and I'll probably end up replacing it. I'll see if I can clean it up first, but I think I may as well just replace it and just add it to my part list. The sender unit, I'll replace, but I have a gasket, at least I should have a gasket for the water pump itself. The bearings on this thing, they sound really good, so I've got no need to really kind of try to replace the pump itself outside of just giving it a good clean. So that's what we're going to get started with. Well, like I said, everything here I loosened up prior, so it should all just pretty much come right off. Of course, start by dropping that. I found that there is a nut for one of them, rather a nut for two of them, and then a bolt for the other. Although this guy here looks like it might actually be pulling a stud out. Interestingly, on these two, I found that only one of these had a washer on it. It's a small old lock washer, so I'm sure we'll probably have to go and refer to the parts to find out what's going on there. Looks like some of these studs too. You see that guy's really short, and there's hardly anything getting purchased. This guy here is pretty long, and that's just a bolt. So I'll have to refer to the manual and kind of see what we're supposed to have in there, because I don't think that that's going to be right. All right, so I feel like I can just pull this guy straight up pretty much. There we go. Oh boy. Yep, okay. So this is definitely very, very corroded. The corrosion on that is just astronomical. I'll see what I can try to do to clean that up. Hopefully we don't have to replace this, because I really don't want to. 50 bucks is 50 bucks, but yeah, we'll see how we can get this guy cleaned up. Now for the inside of the housing is gross. I mean, just look at all that. It's pretty bad in there. So again, we're gonna just try to get that cleaned up as much as possible. And like I said before too, I did go ahead and I loosened this all up before. This was on here real tight, and so I had to actually put the whole assembly into my vise to get it to come loose, but it's loose. All right, so with that, we got it stripped down. Look at the inside of this though. This is all heavy corrosion. And I don't know how we're gonna get through that. I have the needle scaler. Maybe I'll hit the needle scaler and start blasting that out. But I want to make sure they don't get any kind of debris in places where I will never be able to get it out. But let's take a look at this guy. So again, the bearing on this sounds good. I really don't have much fear of this failing or needing to be replaced. The question is how can I clean up this impeller? So the corrosion is actually pretty soft, which is good. So I'm going to see if I can just try to like slowly chip away at some of this. And I'm doing it so that way I don't really run a risk of having it drop in between here and the impeller and the bearing. Because the last thing I need is for that to get in the bearing and then I'll just chew the bearing up.
Many minutes later.
Alright, so we got a pretty decent result here. This actually doesn't look too bad. I was able to get it nicely cleaned up. I first used a little bit of the wire wheel just to kind of break up a bunch of it, and then I just kind of scraped out a little bit more, and honestly, it isn't bad at all. Maybe I'll bust out the Dremel real quick and just kind of give it a last little bit of a cleaning, but I'm frankly pretty happy with that to go back in. Better than spending an extra 50 bucks right now if I don't have to. Next thing I do want to do though is go ahead and get the pulley portion of it all painted up. I don't plan on running the actual fan on this guy, so I'm just gonna remove these screws and get these off to the side. But I still want the pulley to look decent. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some of that high temp paint that I had used for the valve cover and all that to go ahead and just paint the pulley itself. And I'm not really worried about painting the body because honestly you ain't gonna really see that. But I think that'll look pretty good. And then we can turn our attention to getting this guy cleaned up. So let me go ahead and get this kind of sanded down and just get this good scuff, get that rust off there. And then we'll hit it with a lick of paint and keep on going on. All right, we're back. It's next day. Got the pump painted up. I ended up painting the bottom. It was easy. So got it all painted up though. Looks pretty good. I used the VHT high temp enamel on it. Actually gives a really nice finish. But the pump itself looks pretty decent. So I'm going to now turn my attention on over to the pump housing. Like I showed you before, there's a lot of corrosion that's like inside of here. Mainly in this section. Not so much in, well, I can't really focus on that, but not so much in here. What I'm going to do is, first of all, it's filthy. So second, I want to try to get all this cleaned up. So I'm going to set up my pressure washer. And I'm just going to see if I can get anything, done with the pressure washer. And then if I can't, we'll look at some other means, possibly using the Dremel or whatnot. But fingers crossed, I don't think we have to get to that point. But let me go ahead and get this cleaned up and I'll show you what we got. All right, so check this out. Got it pressure washed. And I actually brought it inside and I washed it down with like some Dawn dish detergent just to remove all of the all the grease and grime and everything that was on it. Came out pretty good. It actually cleaned up quite well. Of course, the light I just moved. It cleaned up quite well in here. There's still some schmutz that's in here that is going to definitely cause some issue for water flow. But it seems to just kind of push away and chip away quite easily. So, like with stuff like this here, if I just kind of give it a little physical persuasion, it just kind of drops out and goes right away. And leaves you a nice little pile like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just clean this up a little bit further, go through all the passages that I can reach, get this old gasket removed, and then I'll probably get this guy a lick of paint, and go from there. I'm going to try to also see if I can just remove the corrosion that's in here. But, I mean, for the most part, this actually looks pretty decent. So let me keep cracking away at this, and we'll catch up with you in a few. All right, so before I go too much crazier with this, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get these studs out. Fingers crossed I don't break anything and I don't cause major headache. But I'd like to back them out and then ultimately get them replaced with the proper studs, because it is supposed to be 3 studs. And these are different studs. This has some, messed up threads on it. This one's sticking way out, so I don't think it's the right stuff. So I'm gonna get these pulled out, and then what I would like to do is go ahead and soak this in a bath of some phosphoric acid. So go ahead and dissolve the last bit of the rust, treat the metal, and then we'll get this guy cleaned up on this side, get that off, and give it some paint, and then get it ready for reassembly. Definitely some difference in the threads and the studs. So this is the guy that came out of here, and this is the guy that came out of here. And I really had to use a pair of vice grips to get this guy to come out. But I got it out, and yeah, there's definitely a difference. So I'm going to have to go into the Rimmer site and just kind of see what the spec is on that and see if maybe Ace Hardware has them. But at least in the meantime, I now have the ability to go ahead and get this guy dropped into a small container with some Evaporust or some phosphoric acid and just let it do its thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see what happens. All right, so here's what we got. Went ahead and got this guy all nicely cleaned up. Went ahead and I cleaned all the mating surfaces with just a roll-lock disc. That's essentially just like a Scotch-Brite pad, nothing aggressive. And yeah, I mean, it cleaned up really nicely. I'm pretty happy with it. There's a little bit of surface rust just from the use of the phosphoric acid, but overall, I mean, this thing is really clean inside. So I mean, I would definitely say that I'm very happy to be able to put this on the car. So it's getting dark outside. I am going to try to get a coat of paint on this real quick before it gets too dark. And then I'm going to run off to the store and see if I can get the appropriate sized studs. I got the size off of Rimmers, so it should be hopefully easy to find. So let me get some paint on this. I'll check in with you in a minute. All right, so there we have it. Got this guy painted. I went ahead and I cleaned up all of the sealing surfaces. Got them looking really good. So I am super happy with this. The paint came out pretty decent. Again, it's going to be buried behind a pump and all that anyways, but it's clean. The passageways are all cleaned out, and this thing should not have any problems with flow. Not that it did before, but definitely not now. So with that though, I also thought, hey, while I'm at it, I should probably take care of this guy. So this is the aluminum top for the actual pump housing itself. And so it had a bunch of black paint on it, but I went ahead and just kind of gave it a little bit of a polish. I mean, it's not new looking by any means. It definitely shows it's 50 years of age. That looks decent. But I was unable to get the studs that I wanted from Ace, so I'm going to end up having to order them. I was really kind of hoping to not have to order $9 worth of studs and pay $10 shipping, but kind of looks like it's going to be the deal. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and just plus pros on this for now. But, we'll show you what it kind of looks like. You get the picture. That'll look pretty sharp sitting up there. And then we got the pump, which will sit right in here. Of course, we'll put a new gasket in it. And, yeah, there we go. Boom, water pump. So it looks pretty decent. Not bad. Certainly a hell of an improvement over what it was before. And it should definitely, well, fingers crossed, give me years of good service. So with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. All right, so that's it. So I got email today from Ted saying all my stuff is finally being shipped. So we got the last little pieces of it. Cam's coming back. All that jazz is coming back. So I'm super stoked that that's happening, which means that, fingers crossed, I think the next video is going to be me assembling the lower end of the engine. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click the like button. You know the drill. Let me know you guys like the content. And just remember, when working on project cars like this, remember, don't expect perfection. But most importantly, don't be that dreaded previous owner. Cheers.